Hey, look what I found. Yeah, so funny story about this. Ever since I found the He-Man figures at my local Walmart, uh, I've been checking back to see if I could find Skeletor. And I knew they had a case in the back, because it said on the website that they had it in limited stock. They just hadn't put it on the shelf yet. They tell you, oh, we don't keep anything in the back. Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie. They keep stuff in the back. Anyway, so I'd been checking back pretty much every day to try to see if I could find a Skeletor. Haven't had any luck. On Thursday, they opened up a fresh, brand new case of He-Man. So they had like a ton of He-Man. They had maybe like 2 Battle Cats, and I think 3 of the Sky Sleds when I was there last. And I went in there this morning. All of it was gone. Every single bit. So, I think a scalper might have come in and got them. Anyway, I went to the next nearest Walmart to my house. And that one happened to have a Skeletor. So I got Skeletor now. So let's open him up. If you watched my previous episode where I was opening up the He-Man figure, I told you there was a perforation in the back so it could be opened. This one doesn't have that perforation. So I'm thinking that might have been just the card was damaged somehow. But it was such an exact straight line up the back that, like, I didn't see how it could be just like somebody like accidentally cut it open with a box cutter or something. Maybe it was something that happened at the factory. I don't know. But this one doesn't have that. But that's fine, because like I said, I'm going to open them the old-fashioned way. So here we go. And he has a mini-comic, which is the same exact mini-comic as the He-Man figure comes with. And like I said, it's not bad. The artwork's pretty good. It's just short. So maybe if the line goes on longer and is a little more successful and they see how excited people are about the mini-comics, maybe they'll actually give us longer mini-comics. But the story itself was kind of basic. Like it was intentionally basic, like it was supposed to introduce the characters to a new generation or whatever. But it wasn't bad. Okay, so Skeletor, much like He-Man, is held in with a few rubber bands, so I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and cut them so I can more easily remove him from the package. He's still stuck in that tray. Now, the first thing anybody's going to notice about this Skeletor versus the original one is the face is different. It's obviously based on the original Skeletor head sculpt, but rather than having a closed mouth, his mouth is all open. I guess he's supposed to be going, meh! Like, you know, people think of Skeletor as doing. I'd seen a discussion on Facebook recently where they were talking about Skeletor didn't actually do that on the cartoon, but kind of at this point, it's like, it's almost like Beam Me Up, Scotty, or Elementary, My Dear Watson, or Me, Tarzan, You, Jane. It doesn't matter that he didn't say it in the in the cartoon. It's part of the lexicon now. You just got to accept it. It's just part of the character, whether it was officially in there to begin with or not. Like, honestly, like, I think it was more of a nyah than a meow, but people tend to say meow. So, anyway, I got, like, I took a picture to put in the thumbnail of me with a doofy face, so, like, I look like the figure. So, anyway, so here's Skeletor, and first thing I noticed when I take him out of the package is that all of his armor, his cowl, his little loincloth thingy there, his accoutrements, they are all like a much more rubbery type of plastic, whereas the old ones were made out of this kind of waxy plastic that didn't like to hold paint. This should probably hold paint pretty well, I think. So if you wanted to paint it for whatever reason, maybe you wanted to make it a little more detailed, make it look like the Masters of the Universe Classics version a little bit, you could do that. One thing I don't like about this head sculpt is that you can see, like, his hood doesn't complete at the bottom of his chin. Am I getting that right? Yeah. So it just looks kind of like he's wearing some kind of weird bonnet or something. I don't know. But the face looks a lot less goofy than I was worried it was going to look. Like, I saw it online, and a lot of the pictures and everything looked pretty goofy, but it actually looks pretty cool in person. I'm actually pretty happy with it. So my only problem with the head sculpt is that it doesn't complete the hood at the bottom. I think it might look a little better if I repaint the eyes so it looks more like the old figure. Because the old figure, you see here, it's just kind of like a ring of black around red. And that's it. But the old one was like a ring of purple around another ring of blue and then a red dot in the middle. So I'm thinking maybe if I paint that blue in there, it'll look a little more like the original figure. Like He-Man, this is based on the original sculpt, but it's not exactly the original sculpt. It's got some differences. One thing I definitely wanted to compare with He-Man, and I figure this is probably the case, is they probably use the same upper arms, which would make sense, because there's nothing that distinctive about the upper arms to make them different. Yeah, they're the same exact ones. But on the original figures, the demon arms, as they called them, they were slightly less bulgy than the regular He-Man arms, but these are the exact same ones. And his armor clasps in the back the same way as the old Skeletor armor, which I wish they didn't. I wish they'd made it so that, like, you know, kind of like with the Masters of the Universe classics, where you could have the whole cowl all the way around and it just kind of fit over. Since you can take these guys' heads off pretty easily, you know, you'd think that they could have done that, but they didn't. Looking at this, the head itself is molded out of that light green plastic. I was kind of hoping the whole thing would be molded in purple, so maybe I could, like, you know, clean some of the paint off the bottom, and at least it would be that shade of purple at the bottom, but no such luck. I'll pop that back on there. So, Skeletor being Skeletor, he comes with some weapons, and first of all is his half of the Sword of Power, which is molded in purple, and he doesn't really have a sheath for it like He-Man does, so if you want to store it, you just kind of stick it in the back, go old school like that. And then, last but not least, is his Havoc Staff. And I was already really impressed with this Havoc Staff to begin with, because any picture I saw of it, you can see the staff itself is like rail straight. Whereas the original one, because of the kind of plastic they used, it get kind of bent in the packaging and be all flooby. This one, like, you can try to bend it a little bit like that, it just kind of pops right back into shape. I probably won't do that too often, because I don't want to bend it out of shape, but here we go. We'll put the staff into his gripping hand. And it's kind of a tight grip. Maybe like too tight of a grip. You might be able to knock this out of here easily just because the grip is so tight it might shoot it out like a bullet from the pressure if you hit it the wrong way. But it looks pretty cool while he's holding it. It's probably shorter than a staff like this should be. But that's how the original toy was also. So, and then the Sword of Power, you can kind of put it into his open claw hand, and it just kind of wraps around like that. You use the handguard to kind of clasp it on, and frankly, I'd rather have the sword in this hand anyway, because that way you see the front of the sword rather than the back with these holes in it. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do something that old school He-Man fans will appreciate. I got He-Man himself here, and his Sword of Power. So let's go ahead and take that out of He-Man's harness. And it's kind of stuck in there good, because I stuck it in there good. So I have to kind of wiggle it out a little bit. I'm getting it out, be patient. So.
You fuck on me?
That's the roommates, sorry. Damn, I'm way too tight. What's worse is that, like, since I got it in here so tight, it actually, like, the peg is in the way too, so now it just doesn't want to come out at all. How embarrassing. How embarrassing. So, let that be a lesson to you out there watching this on YouTube. Don't put your power sword in too deep or it might get stuck. Alright, so I got He-Man's Sword of Power out, and unfortunately, it got a little warped in the process, but I think I got it bent back into shape now. So what we can do is we can take the two halves of the Sword of Power and stick them both together, and voila, the complete power sword. What I'm hoping they'll do at some point, since they're going to do variants of He-Man and Skeletor, like, it'd be really cool if they did this with the battle armor versions that are coming out, is if they reversed the color of these, so that He-Man would come with this half, the purple half, but in silver, and Skeletor would come with He-Man's half, but now in purple, and that way you could make a whole purple or a whole gray power sword. So let's put it in He-Man's hand, see how it fits in there now that we got the whole thing together, and it fits pretty well. So there we go. So you got a whole power sword, and Skeletor himself can hold it in his claw hand. Now the secrets of Castle Grayskull will be mine! Yeah, that's fun. So, and of course all the parts are interchangeable, so you can switch the parts around. Like pull Skeletor's arm off and put it on He-Man instead. So for everybody who always wanted a blue arm on He-Man, you can now have a He-Man with a blue arm. So I know you're really excited about that. Everybody, when I was a kid, always wanted a He-Man with a blue arm. Actually, you could do that with the older figures too, because you could switch their parts around pretty easily. But yeah, you can pull them all